right. So we're going to talk about neurographic lines to start off with before we get really into the gist of neurographic art. Because there are actually 3 different kinds of neurographic art. So a neurographic line, a true neurographic line, does not repeat itself. It changes direction as soon as we, the drawer, realize its route. It flows from one edge of your page to the other. It can flow or blend into other lines. Things that it is not, it's not a straight line. So a true neurographic line is not a straight line. It's not a wavy line. It's not a curved line, and it's not a smooth line. So traditionally, a neurographic line would be something like this. And that is very specific. So that the first method of doing neurographic art is a specific method. And it is supposedly the place in which you can get the most emotionally from what you're doing. But on a general basis, the most popular neurographic art is that which does have straight, wavy, curved, or smooth lines. They generally flow from left to right, bottom to top, but they can flow left to bottom or left to top, right to bottom, right to top, or straight across the page. And then there's somewhere in between, a combination kind of a technique. What we're really going to talk about today is the popular version of this, where you have the intersections and then you create a swoop or neuron looking line between that. And that is really what we're going to discuss first of all today. Okay, so the specific tap is supposed to tap right into your mind and helps you build new neural pathways. So the specific is a page full of lines similar to this, top to bottom, left to right, and they will intersect. And that is the typical specific type of neurographic art. And then the popular one is what we see out there today, which we're going to do some of that today. And then a combination simply brings both types together. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on the popular version, which is where you draw a line, typically a wavy line, from left to right. And then draw a second line, top to bottom. And then draw a third line. And so forth and so on. But for demonstration purposes here, I'm going to leave it at this and leave it real basic. Now the next thing is at your intersections. So this point right here, this point right here, and this point right here. Wherever you have an intersection, you're going to create soft curves. So that is create soft curves. So we're going to fill this in and create a soft curve on each side of those intersections. And the premise is that these look like the neurons within your brain. And then once you get all your soft curves put in each of those intersections, then you're going to go in and either collage in the open areas, doodle in the open areas, add color in the open areas. And I'm going to next show you how that's done in full, as a full piece. And just keep in mind that it's taking what I've showed you here and taking it a step further by adding color, pattern, design into this as a whole. So I'm actually gonna roll some B footage of that process and what I ended up creating. What I've started with here is I took some inks, a black ink, and I just kind of went over the page with the ink making lines. Now this piece here is actually done on a piece of file folder because it is actually going to be the cover of my December planner. So I went with a lot of loops because I wanted to kind of get the look like a strand of lights. So that's where I started. That's what this is from. So now I'm going through and smoothing out those lines and softening, curving out those, any area where we have two lines crossing, and making them look more like neurons. So that's what I'm doing with this Sharpie marker. So now I'm coming in and adding a little bit of collage to some of the areas. So I'm going to adhere this tissue paper down with some TCW matte medium in specific areas throughout the piece. So now I'm coming in with some of my Arteza acrylic paint pens and using the fluorescence to color in some of those circular bulb-like areas. And now I'm just going to start finishing off some of the open areas and filling them in with acrylic paint. And you'll see that I'm going to keep this in traditional Christmas theme. Maybe not so traditional, but in those general red and green colors. And that basically is the popular version of neurographic art. There is so much out there right now on neurographic art that you can find lots and lots of samples of it. And it is fun. It's very fun to do. It's not my standard thing to do, but it is a lot of fun. Please take a moment to like this video if you do, and subscribe if you haven't.